Have you seen the movie Fight Club? Well, if you have, then you know I'm already breaking the first rule of Fight Club just by talking about it. The main character of the movie, Tyler Durden, has a rather unique philosophy on life, and you hear his philosophy on life in the many quote-worthy speeches he makes throughout the film. I won't spoil it for you. See the movie if you haven't. Now, curiously enough, something Tyler Durden said in Fight Club has moved from pop culture into the mainstream lexicon, and it is this.
You are not special. You are not a beautiful or unique snowflake. You are the same decaying organic matter as everything else.
You are not special. You are not a beautiful or unique snowflake. You are the same decaying organic matter as everything else. The term snowflake refers to someone who is easily hurt or offended by the statements or actions of others. The term snowflake is not necessarily political, as both liberals and conservatives are accused of being snowflakes from time to time. The writer of Fight Club, Chuck Palahniuk, discussed the term snowflake with USA Today, and here's a quote from one of the USA Today reporters detailing that conversation.
Fight Club author Chuck Palahniuk claims that Trump supporters have been inspired by his "You are not special, you are not a beautiful and unique snowflake." He says he coined the term snowflake, which Trump supporters have been using to refer to Trump protesters and liberals. Palahniuk says that the term snowflake is even more accurate today than it was when he wrote the book. He said, "Every generation gets offended by different things, but my friends who teach in high school tell me that their students are very easily offended." Palahniuk added that he believes liberals and the political left need to rethink their strategy when it comes to protesting Trump, saying they are always reacting to things. Once they get their show on the road culturally, they will stop being so offended.
And this is Lawrence Jones from the blog The Blaze talking about the phenomenon of snowflakes.
What do you make of, we did a story a couple of days ago, and that story kind of reminds us of this, that there's a British insurance company did a survey, and they have discovered that the millennials feel that when you call them a snowflake, it damages their mental health.
I'm not surprised at all. This is a generation where they've been taught that you can change your sex if you want to. You can change your race if you want to. If you say anything that offends them, they're trying to make it where it's a crime. So this is what progressives want. This is what liberal mentalities on these college campuses and in these elementary schools are doing to our kids. And if we don't stand up to it, we're going to create a generation of wussies. I'm sorry.
Doesn't this just prove that they are snowflakes?
Yes, yes. I mean, they couldn't survive my household. I know my parents said a lot of things that hurt our feelings, but you know what? They got results. My mom used to always say that they had tough strategies, but they got results out of us. And so, I mean, they would come at us, but they expected excellence. And this generation, they're not used to that.
Okay, so why do I bring all this up? Well, quite recently, the Journal of Business Research published a study called, quote, "You're Offended, I'm Offended," an empirical study of the proclivity to be offended and what it says about employees' attitudes and behaviors, end quote. And oh boy, it was interesting. I'll share a few highlights from that professional study after this. History is not black and white. It's complicated. America was built on slave labor, yet blacks owned slaves as well. The Republican Party was founded to abolish slavery, but today most blacks vote Democrat. And sometimes, just sometimes, African kings marry white. No matter the race, people are complicated, filled with contradictions, and change with the times. To view history through the lenses of today's culture cheats the learner of the full story. Black History Quiz is a newsletter that shares facts you might not have learned in school and certainly did not learn from mainstream media. Black History Quiz educates, sparks debate, and often puts history in a brand new light. Visit blackhistoryquiz.com and subscribe to the weekly newsletter. No matter your perspective of history, you will not be disappointed. blackhistoryquiz.com. The Journal of Business Research proves what you probably already knew in your gut. People who are easily offended, also known as snowflakes, make terrible employees. The study You're Offended, I'm Offended describes PTBO, which stands for proclivity to be offended. More specifically, PTBO is a state-like tendency to be sensitive to customarily innocuous societal events and traditions, such as playing of the United States national anthem, which is a quote from the study. And it is also the tendency to view an array of events and or traditions as offensive. Another quote from the study. People with high PTBO, which again stands for proclivity to be offended, are likely to feel that social events or traditions to which they take offense also violate moral or equitable standards. Let me go a little bit deeper with this. Dr. Jeremy Berniff, Associate Professor of Management at San Diego State University, asked 395 employees at 7 U.S. colleges what they thought about certain events receiving substantial media attention, including 17 items developed to assess the proclivity to be offended, 8 moral outrage items, 11 microaggression items, and 9 political correctness items. The study found that easily triggered people are less productive, are prone to view their organizations as less fair, and consume a lot of time complaining about trivial matters. They substantiate that in the report by saying this, quote, "The person offended by everyday occurrences diverts important and limited cognitive resources away from the client and potential sale towards a task irrelevant stimuli." Which I translate into meaning that people who are offended spend a lot of time worrying about nothing. But that's just my paraphrasing. And the report also said that these PTBO, aka Snowflakes, make terrible team players. Here's a quote from the report. It says here, while one might think the tendency to become triggered, which is another way of saying angry, while one might think that the tendency to become triggered would suggest social justice warriors are the most altruistic and helpful within an organization as their prescriptive morality dictates helping and providing for others, the study finds that people with high PTBO are less likely to engage in citizenship behavior, and that PTBO negatively correlated with task performance and positively work behaviors, suggesting not only that these individuals engage in fewer citizenship behaviors, but also engage in behaviors managers and organizations want their employees to avoid. So my takeaway from all those big words is this. Snowflakes worry and complain about trivial matters, about imagined matters, and instead of being helpful, they rather be angry and incentivize others to sit around and be angry with them. On one hand, it's quite humorous to lambast the new generation as weaker than the generation that preceded it. And on the other hand, it's a matter of great concern. I have been fortunate enough to travel extensively, domestically and internationally. I speak of all sorts of people, but predominantly my conversations are with people in the HR space. Invariably, the discussion turns to preparation for an uncertain future. The robots are not only coming, they've arrived, and jobs are gradually being eliminated. No doubt, new jobs and industries will rise up as old skills are no longer needed. Imagine how cars displaced the horse and buggy, music downloads did away with record stores, and the iPhone birthed a whole new industry. It's quite possible to conceive that people starting college today will not have the skills for the jobs they would need by the time they graduate. This is why the skills that will make Snowflakes, or anyone else for that matter, the most employable are soft skills. Oxford University did a study based on data from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, which rated 35 skills on how important they are in over 600 jobs. Some of the skills that ranked the highest were judgment and decision-making, critical thinking, active listening, spoken communication, social perceptiveness, persuasion, negotiation. These are not the skills I see in easily angered snowflakes. There's snowflakes in general because snowflakes are easily angered. But these are the skills that employers want. Imagine if you're a business owner, right? And you're thinking all kinds of things for the sake of your business. Some things that might run through your head when interviewing someone for a job might be things like this. Okay. What if my client is a devoted Trump supporter and you are not? Will the sight of a red hat with "Make America Great Again" on it trigger my client on their wrong thinking? Will you treat them differently from all my other customers? Could your outrage cause me to lose business and thereby lay other people off? Something else a business owner may think about. Although I would not tell you this, just before you walked in for an interview, I looked you up on Facebook and I noticed that you destroyed a statue in a public square. Since I know you are given to destroying property, should I be concerned that you'll one day wreck my office if you feel that I somehow treated you unfairly? And if CNN is on in the break room and a political topic is discussed, will you see that as an opportunity to champion your cause? In other words, will a news report or opinion piece you hear on the office premise distract you from the work I hired you to do? Something business owners, I think, are thinking about, or should be. If stop being angry over trivial matters and master the interpersonal skills that will make them employable, then they will not be able to keep a job, making them angrier, which will prevent them from getting a job in the future, which will make them even more angry, and so on, and so on, and so on. I have great concern for the future of my country. You have been listening to the Things I Think About podcast. If you love what you heard, hate what you heard, or don't know what you just heard, I want to know about it. Drop me an email. I can be reached at Jim Stroud, that's JIMSTROUD, @jimstroud.com. So, until next time, bye-bye.